The world has cities that look like they belong on postcards, but living there is like rolling dice with fate. Imagine a city built right beneath the shadow of an active volcano. Picture a hidden world in China, where families live underground, their homes revealed only by square holes in the earth. High above the valley, a city floats 1,400 feet in the clouds, while in Spain, a tiny town seems to balance on the edge of the world. And in the frozen north, there are places where the air is poison, the snow falls black, and survival means breathing in death. These are not movie sets, not legends, not myths. They are real places where millions wake up each day knowing nature, disaster, or violence could strike at any moment. Welcome to the world's most dangerous cities, where beauty and terror walk hand in hand, and every sunrise is a gamble with survival. Makoko, Lagos. If you've seen pictures of Venice, imagine it without gondolas, marble palaces, or tourists. That's Makoko, Lagos, a floating community where wooden houses balance on stilts above the dark waters of the Lagos Lagoon. It started as a small fishing village in the 1700s, but today, nearly 200,000 people live here. The danger is everywhere. Floods sweep through narrow canals. Fires spread fast through wooden shacks, and without proper toilets, diseases like cholera run wild. In 2012, government bulldozers demolished part of the settlement, displacing thousands overnight. Still, Makoko survives. Despite the risks, life goes on. Children paddle dugout canoes to floating schools. Fishermen sell their daily catch, and communities stick together. In 2016, Nigerian architect Kunle Adeyemi designed the Makoko Floating School, a triangular wooden structure meant to withstand floods. It collapsed after a storm, but became a symbol of resilience. Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, has nearly 1 million residents in the city and over 2.5 million in the metro area. Life here has been shaped by repeated disasters. On January 12, 2010, a 7.0 earthquake struck just outside the city, killing more than 200,000 people and leaving 1.5 million homeless. Whole neighborhoods collapsed in seconds, and more than a decade later, many are still rebuilding. But earthquakes are not the only danger. Today, almost 80% of Port-au-Prince is under the control of armed gangs. Streets echo with gunfire, kidnappings target ordinary families, and fuel blockades cripple the economy. Schools close often, and hospitals fight to remain open. Despite this, the city is still Haiti's cultural heart. Carnival brings color to the streets, and art from places like Grand Rue is seen worldwide. Yet, under this culture lies daily fear, as nature and violence together make it one of the world's most dangerous capitals. Norilsk, Russia. Norilsk, in Siberia above the Arctic Circle, is both one of the coldest and most toxic cities on Earth. About 175,000 people live here, yet foreigners need special permission from Moscow to enter. Winters are brutal, with temperatures dropping below -40 degrees Celsius, and the city spends weeks in total darkness during polar nights. But pollution is the greatest threat. Built in the 1930s as part of Stalin's Gulag labor camps, Norilsk grew into a giant producer of nickel, copper, and palladium. Its factories release more than 2 million tons of toxic gas every year. Snow often falls black, rivers turn red with chemicals, and residents face high rates of cancer and lung disease. In 2020, a disaster spilled 20,000 tons of diesel into local rivers, creating a national emergency. Despite this hostile environment, people continue to work, raise families, and survive in a place where daily life means enduring poison and ice. Caracas, Venezuela. Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, is home to over 2 million people and sits in a valley surrounded by green mountains. But behind its beauty is a city full of danger. In 2017, it recorded 111 murders for every 100,000 residents, making it the most violent city in the world. Crime isn't the only threat. Venezuela's collapsing economy has left people with shortages of food, medicine, and electricity. Armed gangs called colectivos control neighborhoods and enforce their own brutal rules. Even carrying a smartphone can make you a target, with robberies happening in broad daylight. In 2014, violence shocked the nation when actress and former Miss Venezuela, Monica Spear, was murdered in a roadside robbery with her ex-husband, drawing global attention. Yet Caracas still lives with music, baseball, and colorful street art. Families gather in public squares under murals of Simón Bolívar. But life here feels like survival, where peace can vanish in seconds. Castellfollit de la Roca. Castellfollit de la Roca, in Catalonia, Spain, is a town that seems to balance on the edge of the world. It sits on a narrow basalt cliff almost 160 feet high and less than 1,000 meters long. From far away, the entire town looks ready to fall into the rivers below. The cliff was created more than 200,000 years ago when two lava flows hardened, and later the Fluvia and Toronel rivers carved out the land around it. With fewer than 1,000 residents, it is small, but filled with history. Many of its homes are built from the same volcanic rock, blending with the cliff, and the Church of Sant Salvador from the 13th century stands right at the edge, like a watchtower. Life here is risky. Rockfalls and erosion threaten the cliff, especially after heavy rains. Locals reinforce it with stone walls, but every view is both beautiful and terrifying. Sarawat Mountains. The Sarawat Mountains stretch along Saudi Arabia's western edge for nearly 1,500 kilometers, from Jordan down to Yemen. Rising above the Red Sea coast, these cliffs are steep, jagged, and cut by narrow valleys where flash floods and rock slides strike without warning. What makes the Sarawat special is not just their danger, but their history with bees. Near Al-Baha, tribes once carved stone terraces into the slopes to hold about 1,200 beehives. For centuries, honey from wild cedar trees and mountain flowers was so prized it became central to the local economy and is still considered among the best in the Middle East. But beekeeping here has always been risky. Harvesting meant climbing unstable cliffs with only ropes and smoke to calm the bees. Storms or falling rocks could turn honey collection into a deadly task. Al-Hajar Village, Yemen. Al-Hajar village in western Yemen sits dramatically on a cliff above the Wadi Dar Valley. The stone houses rise like towers, stacked tightly together, making the village look as if it has been carved straight from the rock. Some buildings reach several stories high, built from stone and mud bricks, blending perfectly with the cliffside. For centuries, this design gave protection, since the only way up was through steep, narrow paths. But what once kept invaders out now brings danger. Rock slides and erosion constantly threaten the settlement, and one strong earthquake, like Yemen has seen before, could send parts of the village into the valley below. The region also suffers from Yemen's ongoing conflict, leaving the countryside unstable. Still, Al-Hajar is alive. Families remain in the towers, farmers work the terraced fields, and children climb the steep alleys. Positano, Italy. Perched on the cliffs of Italy's Amalfi Coast, Positano looks like a dream. Pastel houses stacked above the sea, narrow alleys twisting into staircases, and beaches dotted with colorful boats. But life here is far from simple. The entire town of 4,000 residents is built on unstable cliffs, where heavy rains often trigger landslides and rockfalls, sending boulders tumbling dangerously close to homes. In the wider region, earthquakes like the 1980 Irpinia quake remind locals how fragile these slopes are. Even daily life can feel risky. Many roads are staircases, some with over 1,500 steps, making basic chores exhausting. Tourism, which swells the population every summer. Still, Positano's beauty lures thousands each year. It's a town where sunsets are stunning, but every view carries the shadow of cliffs waiting above. Plymouth, Montserrat, Caribbean. On the tiny Caribbean island of Montserrat lies a capital city frozen in ash. Plymouth, once the island's bustling heart, was buried after the Soufriere Hills volcano erupted in 1995. Over the following years, pyroclastic flows and ash clouds swallowed buildings, streets, and ports, forcing nearly two-thirds of the island's 11,000 residents to flee, USGS. By 1997, Plymouth was abandoned, declared uninhabitable, and sealed off as part of an exclusion zone. Walking there today feels like stepping into Pompeii. Half-buried homes, collapsed churches, and cars locked in ash up to their windows. The volcano is still active, releasing steam and tremors, so the city remains under constant threat. Yet, Montserrat's people refused to give up. A new capital, Braides, was built in the north. Plymouth stands as a haunting reminder of nature's power, a modern ghost city buried alive by fire and ash. Gjirokastër, Albania. Known as the City of Stone, Gjirokastër in southern Albania is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, famous for its Ottoman-era houses with stone roofs and narrow cobbled streets. Built on the steep slopes of the Drino Valley, the city looks like a fortress sprawling down a mountainside, crowned by a medieval castle that dates back to the 12th century. But living here isn't easy. The same hills that make it stunning also make it dangerous. Heavy rains often trigger landslides, threatening the old houses that cling to the cliffs. UNESCO. Earthquakes are another risk. Southern Albania has a long history of seismic activity, including a 6.4 magnitude quake in 2019 that damaged heritage buildings across the region. Despite the danger, Gjirokastër remains alive with markets, music festivals, and history. Birthplace of author Ismail Kadare. It's a city where culture thrives, even as the ground beneath it keeps shifting. Sunken courtyard villages. In China's Henan province, people live underground in homes called dikengyuan, or sunken courtyards. From above, you only see a square hole in the ground, but inside are complete houses carved into the walls. Families dig a central courtyard, then make rooms, kitchens, and storage tunnels around it. This style is more than 2,000 years old, dating back to the Han Dynasty, 206 BC to 220 AD. The lowest plateau soil is strong yet soft enough to shape, making it perfect for underground homes. These houses stay cool in summer and warm in freezing winters, acting like natural air conditioning and heating. But they can be dangerous. Heavy rains and earthquakes sometimes cause cave-ins, trapping families. In places near San Menxia, many are still in use, though younger people move away to modern housing. From ground level, villages look like farmland until you find square holes where whole communities live below. Civita di Bagnoregio. Civita di Bagnoregio in Italy's Lazio region is known as La città che muore, the dying city. It was founded by the Etruscans over 2,500 years ago on soft volcanic rock that has been crumbling ever since. Landslides and erosion slowly ate away its edges. Today, fewer than 20 people live there permanently. The only way to reach the city is by a 980-foot pedestrian bridge built in 1965, since cars are banned and supplies must be carried in by scooter or on foot. Sitting 1,400 feet above sea level, the town often appears to float above the clouds, drawing tourists worldwide. But its beauty hides danger, as the same fragile cliffs threaten its survival. In 2014, UNESCO considered it for World Heritage status, both for its history and because it might vanish completely. For locals, every stone that crumbles is a reminder of its slow disappearance. Aoshima, Japan. On the island of Aoshima, in Kagoshima Prefecture, life looks peaceful at first glance. Fishing boats, small shrines, and quiet homes. But the village sits on the edge of an active volcano, Mount Sakurajima, one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. Since 1955, Sakurajima has erupted thousands of times. Ash often falls on the village like black snow, and lava flows have destroyed entire neighborhoods in the past. The city of Kagoshima nearby has even built concrete shelters where children practice running during eruptions. Despite the risk, people refuse to leave completely. Farmers still grow crops in volcanic soil, which is some of the most fertile in Japan. That's it for today. The world is full of places where beauty and danger collide. So which one shocked you the most?